Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Caitlin and I upload 3 times a week on this channel. Wednesdays are fashion lifestyle videos, Fridays are weekly university vlogs where I vlog a week in my life at university, Sundays are my Unsolved Sundays where I discuss some sort of solved and unsolved true crime case, usually just cases that you guys have suggested, so definitely leave me any suggestions down below in the comments. Today I'm back with another one of my unsolved or mystery week, I think I called it. So if you couldn't tell already, I've been uploading a mystery video every day of this week, and today is another instalment of that. So today we're going to be discussing another solved case, and this one is very interesting. The main reason I wanted to talk about it is because the case went unsolved for 40 years, and then 40 years after it occurred, it was solved. So thankfully, the families of the 2 young girls involved in this case were given closure and some answers about the mystery that was their case. But yeah, I thought I'd discuss it just a little bit today. So today we're going to be discussing the case of Sherri Miller and Pamela or Pam Jackson, and there were 2 17-year-old girls who died in mysterious circumstances, but like I said, 40 years later the case was solved. So we shall just get started. If you want to hear a little bit about the case, then I shall just begin. On May the 29th, 1971, Sherri Miller and Pamela or Pam Jackson, they were driving to a party. It was just like a party with all their friends and they were in the car alone. So this party of theirs was in South Dakota and they were heading there. They were in the car behind other friends. I believe there were a couple cars ahead. They were just cars of friends, basically all these young people going to a party together. Sherri Miller had been driving that evening and she was actually driving her grandfather's 1960 Studebaker Lark car. The girls were reported missing when their friends who were driving in front of them and lost them eventually realised that they hadn't arrived at that party that night, and then when they'd also failed to return home to their families like they were supposed to that night. In 2004, a neighbour of the girls' families at the time, their farm was actually searched and they found a whole bunch of bones, remains. There were also personal items like clothing, purse, newspaper clippings that were discovered on this farm. And when these items were discovered and publicly announced or released to the public, people began immediately speculating, the rumours immediately flying, that these were the belongings of the 2 missing young girls from 1971, since no answer had been found from them. In 2007, investigators actually received word of a confession of someone who had allegedly conducted the murder of these 2 young girls in 1971. The confession came from an inmate. He was in prison at the time and his name was Aloysius, I think is how you pronounce it, Aloysius Blackcrow. And it wasn't a confession on his behalf. He had actually said that his fellow inmate at prison had actually been the one who'd killed the 2 young girls all those years before. The inmate's name was David Lycan and he was actually sent to trial for the murders of Sherri and Pam. So the farm where all those personal items and remains had been discovered was actually the farm where Lycan had been living at the time of the girls' disappearance. And at the time of this so-called confession that came forward, Lycan was actually serving a 227-year sentence for raping and murdering a number of girls just unrelated to this case. In July of 2007, a grand jury indicted him of 2 counts of premeditated murder, 2 counts of felony murder and 2 counts of murder in the disappearance of Miller and Jackson. He was arrested and a trial was set for March of 2008. However, just before Lycan's trial, Blackcrow, who had originally brought up the confession, actually literally just before the trial, recounted this and said that he had lied about the whole thing. And later, because of this, he actually pled guilty to 2 counts of perjury. It was later discovered that Crow had conspired with another inmate to implicate Lycan in the murder or the so-called murder of the 2 young girls in 1971, even though none of them had anything to do with it. And as a result of this, the charges against Lycan were dismissed and he returned back to prison serving his original sentence. The case once again remained cold until 2013, so many years had passed at this point, and it was only in 2013 when a local fisherman discovered the grandfather's car, so Sherri's grandfather's car, in Brewer Creek. The fisherman immediately recognised the car and remembered the case all those years before and immediately contacted the authorities in hopes of this bringing sort of a new lead into where the 2 girls were. Authorities removed the car from the lake and they matched the license plate to that of Sherri's grandfather. However, upon closer inspection inside the car, they actually found 2 pairs of skeletal remains as well as a number of personal items like purses and things that linked them directly to the 1971 missing persons case. And in early 2014, authorities released the information that Pamela and Cheryl had actually died on account of their car swerving off the road and them diving into the creek. They announced that the car it was a complete accident. The car had just swerved off the road. It was a gravel road. They just swerved off of it and unfortunately died on impact in the water. And I have a list here of just kind of specific pieces of evidence to support this that they found on discovery of the vehicle. So when they found the car was in third gear and the keys were still in the ignition. The lights on the dashboard were also still on. Only one of the tyres was damaged, suspected from the impact of driving off the road. And they also found Cheryl's purse inside the car, including her licence, photographs and just a number of other personal items. And the authorities announced that they believed that there was no other party involved in this and it was a pure accident that unfortunately ended in the two young girls losing their lives. There was no evidence of the two young girls being intoxicated when they were driving. There were no cans or bottles inside the car, so they had no reason to suspect, and also their friends had said that they weren't drinking, so there was no reason for them to suspect it was a drunk driving accident. Once this information was announced, some speculated that because of the bridge they were driving on at the time, it was actually newly built in 1971 and it may have perhaps thrown the girls off because it was a new route that they weren't used to, and unfortunately as a result of them not knowing their way, they fell off the edge of the bridge. Authorities could not actually determine whether the damaged tyre was a result of something that happened before them landing in the creek or like on impact, but neither scenario that they come up with suggested foul play, so once again it all points to an accident. So that is everything. Fortunately, after 40 years of their families not having any answers, they discovered the truth behind Pamela and Cheryl's disappearance, and it's such an unfortunate accident of what happened to them. But yeah, that is the case, and it's one of those ones that is just such a relief. It's just nice hearing cases where people's families and loved ones actually receive answers. So that is everything I'm going to discuss today. Leave me some suggestions of future week's cases you want to discuss down below, and I'll see you guys soon for another video. Bye!